Revealed 7 Miraculous Reasons Why the Chosen Ones Experience Divine Loneliness by September 2025. In the soft glow of the village chapel, a sacred hush hung in the air. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden streaks through the stained glass. Here, at the heart of the community, sat Sarah, a devoted woman of faith, enveloped in a loneliness so profound it could only be described as divine. Just months after her beloved husband's passing, her heart felt like a barrow of stones, heavy and burdened. Whispers of divine purpose echoed in her ears as she sought peace in prayer, staring blankly at the flickering candles that seemed to dance with otherworldly flames. But for Sarah, these moments were tainted by the murmurings of doubt. As villagers bowed their heads for evening prayer, Sarah's spirit clung to the walls, missing the warmth of familiarity. Yet, in her sorrow, extraordinary events began to unfold. One evening, as twilight wrapped around her, a vivid vision of St. Jude appeared before her, glowing like a beacon of hope. His presence radiated peace, whispering words of encouragement through the chill evening air. "You are not lost, my child. Your suffering is a part of a greater tapestry being woven around you." With a shiver, she felt a warmth ignite within her. Could there be a purpose hidden beneath the surface of her grief? Then came the rumors from the villagers. Has she lost her way? Has she abandoned her calling? Tension thrummed in the chapel as Sarah, now a silent figure in the pews, felt judgmental gazes pierce her heart. But with the rising sun, miracles started occurring within the village. Sick children miraculously healed, grieving mothers finding solace. Each miracle echoed as a reminder that her pain was not in vain, and her faith, though tested, had the power to spark change. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Amidst this divine chaos, angelic figures began to visit her in dreams, their gentle voices lifting her spirit. Sarah, your journey is not in blind faith. It's preparation for something momentous by September 2025. Each night, she awoke renewed, as if she was brushing against the fingertips of the Almighty. The burden of isolation lessened just slightly under the weight of these celestial exchanges. And yet, the question remained, what could be waiting for her beyond the veil of sorrow? Sarah's heart raced as she ventured deeper into the mystery of her divine loneliness. With September 2025 looming, the invisible hand of faith beckoned her to confront her fears. Could this divine silence, this heart-wrenching isolation, truly be a pathway to her incredible purpose? Could it be that the very trials she faced were only the beginning of a grand story, yet to unfold? As the village whispering grew louder and miracles surged around her, the anticipation of revelations simmered in the air, leaving her heart fluttering. What awaited just ahead? With a steady rhythm, the days unfolded as September approached. The village pulsed with a quiet urgency, a sense of something grand on the horizon. Sarah embraced her solitude. It became a landscape she wandered, mapping out the contours of her grief and faith. Each morning, she found herself at the chapel, kneeling before the altar, pouring out her heart to God, her words a soft melody of desperation mingling with trust. In those moments of silence, the heavenly visits, morphing her dreams, began to transform her waking hours. One afternoon, as sunlight bathed the worn wooden pews, Sarah felt a whisper beckoning her. This time it wasn't St. Jude, but the unmistakable sound of laughter, a child's laughter, pure and untouched by sorrow. She turned to see little Annie, the village girl known for her gentle spirit, skipping towards her. In a blink, the heavy stones in Sarah's heart felt lighter. "Miss Sarah, can you help me find my cat? He has gone missing again." Annie's eyes sparkled with excitement, her worry momentarily forgotten. For a brief moment, Sarah's loneliness evaporated. The duty to guide and comfort reignited a forgotten joy within her. "Of course, sweetheart," Sarah replied, her lips curling into a smile. The pair set off, hand in hand, searching the nooks and crannies of the village, calling for the elusive feline. They laughed together, racing along the cobblestone paths, and in that simple journey, Sarah recognized something sacred connection. As days passed, this partnership with Annie grew, blossoming into a beautiful friendship. With each adventure, Sarah shared lessons of hope, her faith evolving as she guided the child through the trials of love and loss. Little did she know, it was not merely Annie who was healing. Sarah felt the layers of her own pain peel away, revealing fresh embers of purpose. Yet, the weight of her divine loneliness lingered, whispering truths yet unknown. Desperation tugged at her heart, urging her to uncover the mystery surrounding her. Could these divine encounters indeed lead to something more? Was that laughter a sign, or merely a fleeting memory of joy? One evening, while sitting before the altar, bathed in candlelight, Sarah felt something shift within her. The familiar stillness of the chapel morphed into something vibrant. A warmth enveloped her, igniting hope. Suddenly, visions danced before her eyes, vivid images of the village buzzing with activity, a gathering of souls bound in faith, joy, and celebration. Each vision echoed a promise the heart of the community, awakened through her journey. Yet, the divine urgency pressed deeper. The questions multiplied like stars in the night sky, each sparkling moment teasing the edges of her understanding. What extraordinary purpose awaited her? As anticipation thickened in the air, Sarah closed her eyes, surrendering to the moment of divine revelation. She felt the call of something greater beckoning her, awakening an urgency that she couldn't ignore any longer. What if her loneliness, once a burden, was the very pathway to a community transformed? What if she was being prepared for a task that would ripple beyond September 2025? The light danced within her, illuminating the shadowy corners of doubt. At that moment, she knew she had to step forward. As she took a deep breath, gathering her strength, she wondered, what did God truly have planned for her? And was she ready to embrace the calling that lay ahead? As September unfurled its vibrant cloak across the village, Sarah felt the winds of change swirl around her. Each fragrant breeze brought whispers of hope mixed with uncertainty. The laughter of Annie echoed still in her heart, a melodic reminder of the joy that connection could bring. Yet beneath that joy lingered the unanswered questions, a divine enigma waiting to be unraveled. On a brisk morning, Sarah found herself once more before the chapel's altar, sunlight streaming through the stained glass, painting the walls in hues of serenity. She knelt down, feeling the cool stone beneath her palms, and poured out a fresh wave of prayers. "Lord," she began, "show me the way, help me understand why I must walk this lonely path." As she prayed, a stillness enveloped her, a tangible presence that made the air thicker with grace. In that stillness, Sarah caught sight of a flicker of light in the corner of her eye. She turned, and there, standing before her, was a figure shrouded in golden light. The figure smiled, and though its face was elusive, the warmth radiating from it filled Sarah's heart with peace. "Fear not, dear Sarah," the figure spoke, its voice akin to a gentle breeze rustling through leaves. "Your journey is not a solitary one, for each step you take is drawing you closer to a greater purpose." "Who are you?" she whispered, awe and reverence mingling in her chest. "I am a beacon, a reminder of the love stretching across your life. You have been chosen to nurture this community, to kindle the flames of hope within their hearts. Your moments of loneliness are gifts, my child. They carve space for deep understanding and empathy. Each tear you shed is fertile soil for the seeds of compassion you shall sow." The figure began to fade, yet its words lingered, echoing in Sarah's heart like a soft chant. She felt an inexplicable warmth wash over her, a light illuminating not just her own doubts, but also the shadows she had been carrying for others. Could it be true? Could her isolation have been forming her into a vessel of hope and healing for her village? Days transformed into weeks, and Sarah actively sought to embody the divine message. She wrote letters to those in need, delivered warm meals, and listened to the aching hearts of the villagers. Each act of kindness chipped away at the remnants of her own sorrow, replacing them with glimmers of joy and fellowship. With Annie often by her side, they became a duo of light, illuminating the lives of others with their shared laughter and compassion. One afternoon, while planting flowers in the communal garden, Annie paused, gazing up at Sarah with wide-eyed wonder. "Miss Sarah, do you think we can make everyone happy?" she asked, her innocent face serious yet hopeful. Sarah knelt down beside her, brushing the dirt from her hands. "Happiness can be fleeting, but if we share our hearts, if we spread kindness and understanding, we can make the world a bit brighter, one person at a time." Yet as the sun began to set, turning the sky into a blaze of oranges and purples, unanswered questions loomed large once more. What would this community look like if they embraced the love and hope Sarah had begun to share? And would the loneliness still have a role in her life once this journey truly began? The answers danced just beyond reach. The weight of her purpose felt heavy yet exhilarating. With eyes scanning the horizon, she marveled at the possibilities awaiting her. What new experiences and revelations would unfold as the month deepened? And amid these divine transformations, would Sarah be ready to embrace the next chapter in her journey? As the full harvest moon hung bright in the night sky, Sarah felt an unmistakable pull towards the familiar chapel. Each step echoed with purpose, a rhythm that matched the quickening of her heart. It was as if the universe itself was coaxing her closer, inviting her to discover the depths of her mission. The doors of the chapel creaked open, and the warmth of candlelight washed over her like a balm. Inside, she found the church nearly empty, save for a few faithful souls deep in prayer. Sarah quietly took her place at the altar, consumed by a sense of belonging. "Lord," she breathed, her voice barely above a whisper, "guide me as I navigate this path. Teach me to lead with love amidst the heartaches." The air tingled with anticipation, and Sarah could feel the weight of her thoughts swirling. Was it truly her task to nurture her village? Was she strong enough to carry not just her burdens, but those of others? As if in response, a gentle breeze stirred the air, and a soft glow enveloped her. A new, familiar warmth enveloped her heart, reassuring thoughts blossoming within her soul. She recalled the figure from her vision, its words flowing through her memory like a sweet hymn. "Loneliness a teacher in disguise," she murmured. "Perhaps it's a bridge to deeper connections." As Sarah sat in prayerful reflection, memories of her recent acts of kindness flooded her mind. The laughter shared with children as they painted vibrant murals in the community center, the smiles exchanged with weary faces during mealtime gatherings, and the warmth of shared stories that lingered long after the sun set. Each moment felt like a kaleidoscope of divine grace, a tapestry woven by connection and empathy knit together with threads of love. Yet, even amidst this joy, a certain heaviness shadowed her mind. What if it's not enough? She pondered. What if they need more than I can give? A tender rustle broke through her thoughts. Sarah turned and saw Annie peering hesitantly through the door, her small frame radiating with innocence. As their eyes met, Sarah felt a spark and understanding beyond words. The little girl bounded over, her curls bouncing, and without hesitation, climbed into Sarah's lap. "Miss Sarah," Annie said, her voice bright with childlike wonder, "are you a hero now? A real one?" Sarah chuckled softly, wrapping her arms around the child. "I don't know, Annie. I just try to help where I can." "Helping is what heroes do," the child declared, a fierce belief blooming behind her emerald gaze. Her faith in Sarah sparked a new flame of determination within her. In that moment, she understood It wasn't about grandeur or perfection, but about attentiveness to each other's needs. "Can you help me with something?" Annie tugged at Sarah's sleeve, her youthful seriousness evident. "Anything, my dear," Sarah replied. "We should throw a big party. For everyone. To make them all happy together." Annie exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement. The idea took hold in Sarah's heart, and she couldn't help but smile. She imagined laughter weaving through the air, music lifting spirits, and warmth wrapping around lonely souls. "Let us do it," she said, her voice bursting with renewed energy. "We'll plan something beautiful." As they began to sketch out ideas, the chapel transformed into a hive of joy and creativity, their laughter filling the sacred space between the stained glass and prayer. Soon, news spread through the village, excitement bubbling amongst the community like spring water breaking through ice. Yet as Sarah lay in bed that evening, a question tugged at her spirit. Would their joy truly carry weight? Would it reach the hearts she feared were too far gone? With that thought lingering like a soft prayer, Sarah drifted into a dream. The lines between her fears and hopes blurred, inviting a revelation of purpose. What did the divine whisper next about her journey in nurturing not just happiness, but healing too? The moon watched over her, a silent confidant in the unfolding mystery. What awaited as the party drew near? Would Sarah uncover the deeper ties of connection waiting in the delicate web of their shared lives? As dawn broke, colors spilled across the horizon like a promise. The golden light breached the windows of the chapel, beckoning Sarah into a new day full of possibilities. She opened her eyes slowly, the warmth of last night's dreams still clinging to her like a gentle cloak. The excitement of the planned gathering filled her heart, but the nagging doubts from the night before still clung to her psyche. Could joy truly bridge the aching loneliness of so many? Was celebration enough to heal deeper scars? She pushed herself from her bed, taking a moment to breathe deeply. "Lord," she said as she washed her face, "show me how to lead with strength and love." With resolute steps, Sarah made her way back to the chapel. She was eager to gather with those who would aid her in making Annie's dream a reality. As she arrived, she found a few familiar faces already waiting. Neighbors, friends, and hopeful souls gathered around the altar where flickering candles twinkled, creating an atmosphere of warmth and unity. "Morning, Sarah." David, the gentle carpenter, greeted her. "We're all set to brainstorm ideas for the party. The village could use a touch of light." Sarah's heart swelled. Here were the faces of those willing to share the burden of hope with her. With each smile, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. They formed a circle, sharing ideas like fragments of light illuminating a darkened room. Games, music, homemade food, and the promise of laughter to fill the air. "Let us include everyone," Sarah urged, her voice steady. "Let us reach those who might feel left out. We can show love in ways they might not expect." As they spoke, an old woman named Miriam shared a story, her eyes sparkling. "Once during the winter, I felt so alone. No one visited, and I couldn't leave my home. One day, a group of children brought a basket of cookies. Their laughter filled my heart and reminded me I was still here, still loved." The group responded with soft murmurs. Sarah could feel the weight of Miriam's loneliness, how one simple act of kindness had turned despair into joy. It resonated within her, weaving deeper connections among them. "Let us create a space for stories," Sarah suggested. "We could share memories and laughter, something to honor each other's journeys." Their excitement grew, and they began planning how to weave together elements of celebration and connection. As ideas flew, the fear in Sarah's spirit began to melt. Community blossomed around her, vibrant and alive. But just as the joy began to raise their spirits, a shadow of doubt flickered through her mind. What if someone comes who is still hurting too much? Would there be space for their sorrow? Her inner turmoil echoed in the eyes of her companions. They paused, exchanging knowing glances that spoke volumes. "Miriam," David said softly, turning towards the wise woman, You've been through storms. How do we prepare for sorrow? Miriam smiled gently. By making room in our hearts for both joy and pain. Not all will dance. Some may need a shoulder first. Love listens, it doesn't push. That simple truth struck Sarah deeply. Perhaps that's what this gathering is truly about, she said, her voice steady. Creating a sanctuary where everyone feels valued. With fresh resolve, they moved forward, collecting words, thoughts, and plans. The sounds of laughter mingled with sacred purpose, and Sarah felt something shift within her, an embrace of divine truth lifting her spirit higher. As the meeting drew to a close and they began to part, Sarah lingered for a moment. Alone, she stood before the altar, heart racing, both hopeful and anxious. What would happen when they gathered? Would they truly reach those who needed the most? And in facilitating moments of joy, could healing occur? The air felt charged with anticipation, a whispering promise echoing through the chapel. As she stepped outside, the sun shining bright above, she took a deep breath filled with new expectations, yet the question remained. How would they weave together joy and sorrow into a tapestry of love? What revelations might come as they embraced both elements in their gathering? The day of the gathering arrived, bright and hopeful. A fresh breeze danced through the village, carrying with it the whispers of anticipation. Sarah felt an electric charge in the atmosphere, a divine nudge that roused her spirit. She moved through the town, her heart a drum, each beat echoing her purpose. As she approached the chapel, the fragrance of baked bread greeted her like an old friend. Tables overflowed with delectable treats, pies, cakes, and savory dishes, each lovingly prepared by hands that knew the beauty of community. Friends and neighbors bustled about, laughter punctuating the air, knitting the fabric of connection tighter with every shared smile. "Sarah, come help me," called Judith, a joyful presence, her hair dusted with flour. "We need to set up the story corner. I've got blankets and cushions, but I could use a creative touch." Nodding, Sarah rushed to lend a hand. Together, they transformed a corner of the chapel into a cozy nook, draped in warmth and inviting whispers. Pillows fluffed and blankets spread. It became an oasis where not only stories, but also hearts would be shared. As they worked, Sarah's mind drifted back to Miriam's words. The gathering needed to be a refuge, where laughter and tears could coexist harmoniously. With each effort, she prayed silently for guidance. "Lord," she whispered, "help us heal and embrace each other fully today." As guests streamed in, Sarah met faces both familiar and new. Some looked eager, while others carried an invisible weight. She remembered the fears nagging at her heart. What if they don't feel they belong? She thought, her brow creasing. But as she made her way around, she found individuals already finding solace in shared moments. The music began softly, a gentle strum of guitars and the sweet hum of voices blending together. David and a few others led songs that uplifted the spirit. Sarah felt the divine light sweep through the room, joy and love poured from every corner, mingling with the tangible backdrop of shared sorrow. Soon, it was time for the stories. Taking a deep breath, Sarah stood before the gathering, her heart swelling with gratitude and fear. "Thank you all for being here. Today isn't just about food and fun. It's about weaving a fabric of our lives together, each thread a story, each knot a memory." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. One by one, they began to share soft whispers, turned into vibrant expressions of heart as truth. Miriam spoke of her winters alone, her voice wrapping around the audience like a balmy breeze. "I learned that sometimes being present is the greatest gift one can give." Tears glimmered in her eyes, but they danced with hope. Then came Jacob, a man often lost in shadows, who stood up with unexpected courage. "I felt so alone for so long. I came here thinking today might be just another empty gathering, but somehow I feel seen." His voice broke slightly, but he continued, "I never believed others could understand my pain. Yet here, surrounded by all of you, I feel lighter." Shoulders shook around the room. People exchanged glances imbued with understanding. There was a rhythm building, joy interacted with sorrow, weaving a tapestry not just of festivities but a profound connection. The gathering pulsed with authenticity. Laughter erupted like fireworks, while moments of silence held the weight of emotions unexpressed. Sarah soaked it all in, realizing the beauty in them sharing their hearts. These fragments of vulnerability became sacred. As the stories flowed, Sarah's soul tingled. Love wrapped around the chapel like a golden thread, bridging the gaps between joy and sorrow. But just as a wave of warmth enveloped her, a thought struck her, a hollow sense that it was only the beginning. If joy and sorrow could coexist so seamlessly today, what awaited them in the future? As the gathering continued, a quiet realization settled in the air. Healing wasn't a single event, but a journey walked together. Before she could dwell too long, the door creaked open. A figure stood framed in the light, overshadowed by the crowd. What wisdom or sorrow might this newcomer bring? Sarah felt her heart quicken, sensing that perhaps today held more divine surprises than she had yet imagined. Who were they, and what stories did they carry? The gathering was about to embrace its next chapter in unexpected ways. The murmur in the chapel paused. A collective breath held as eyes turned toward the door. The figure stepped inside, hesitantly at first, then with a grace that caught Sarah's attention. A woman, her hair a cascade of silver threads, and her face mapped with lines of laughter and loss. The light caught her eyes, revealing depths that spoke of stories untold. "Welcome," Sarah called out, her voice a beacon of warmth. "Please join us." The woman hesitated, glancing around, as though looking for familiarity in the sea of faces. But as she stepped forward, a hush enveloped the room, drawing everyone's focus toward her. "I'm Eliza," she said softly, her voice a soothing melody. "I've come to listen and perhaps to share." Sarah's heart soared. Here was another thread, another story, ready to be woven into their growing tapestry. Eliza moved closer, settling herself beside Miriam, who smiled understandingly, as if sensing the unspoken connection forming. What could this newcomer bring? Eliza's gaze wandered across the room, landing on Jacob, who sat uncharacteristically still, a spark of recognition flickering between them. "Jacob?" She spoke his name gently, as if testing the air with it. Jacob turned, eyes widening in surprise. "Eliza, I didn't expect to see you here." They exchanged a look that spoke volumes, memories of laughter, of shared moments beneath the same sky, and of the silences left unfilled. In times of loneliness, one finds unexpected paths, Eliza said, her voice rich with experience. "I have wandered many roads since we last met, each one teaching me something profound." With courage igniting within her, she continued, "Today, I carry the weight of my journey, my losses, but also the joy of connections restored, however fragile they may seem. I was drawn here by a longing, a sense that I belonged among you all." Sarah felt the weight of her words as if they were a well-loved hymn. Eliza spoke not only for herself, but echoed the sentiments many felt in the room, the ache for community, the desire to be seen and understood. As the sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, shimmering like holy light, a divine presence settled, filling the chapel with an atmosphere thick with hope. Sarah sensed the walls parting, allowing something transformative to seep through the cracks. "Can we each share a moment from our journey?" Eliza suggested, her voice gathering strength. Around the room, spirits lifted as people nodded in agreement. Stories fluttered like butterflies, vibrant and alive, flitting from heart to heart. Then it was Judith's turn. She spoke of a father who was once a stranger, a life that transformed when forgiveness bloomed unexpectedly. "He showed me that sometimes," she said, her eyes glistening, "the wounds we hold can become a source of healing when offered to others." One by one, voices rose, painting a mural of resilience. There was sadness, laughter broke through pain, and threads of hope began to intertwine. Each story unveiled a glimpse into a larger narrative, one that wove their collective experiences closer. Just then, Sarah felt the stirring within her heart, the realization that, in every shared moment, their spirits were being reshaped, illuminated by the light of God's grace. Here, they were not merely participants, but co-creators of a miracle unfolding. As the sounds and silences melted into one, a profound awareness settled in. Sometimes, what feels like loneliness is merely an invitation to seek more, that every heart carries both shadow and light, and they seek each other, long-forgotten paths waiting to be walked together. But as laughter danced alongside tears, Sarah noticed something, a flicker of tension just beneath the surface, as if they were on the edge of another revelation. What awaited them in the shadows, lurking quietly yet poised to reveal a deeper truth? The air thickened with sacred expectancy. What would be uncovered next? Eliza's gentle voice wrapped around the room, drawing everyone close like a warm embrace. We are all travelers here, aren't we? Each story in this sacred space is a guidepost leading us home. As she spoke, Sarah's heart beat steadily, the rhythm echoing the gathered souls now hanging on every word. There was a shared understanding blossoming among them. They were not just recounting their pasts. They were stitching together a future of hope. I once met a wise woman in a little village, Eliza shared, her eyes sparkling with the light of memory. She told me that loneliness is often a teacher. It chisels away the outer shell until we reveal our true selves raw and real. A hush enveloped the gathering. Even the soft rustling of clothing seemed to pause. Sarah felt all eyes shift toward Eliza, hanging on her every word. This was more than a sharing. It was a revelation. Loneliness steals the mind, she continued. In its painful grasp, we often forget how much we matter to the world. My love for the Lord has carried me through those shadowy valleys. It was His presence that illuminated even my darkest nights. Murmurs of agreement floated through the air. Sarah observed Jacob, his brows furrowed, wrestling with his thoughts. She sensed his silent pain, the weight of unamended wounds that might be waiting to unveil themselves. Judith leaned in. Eliza, what did you discover in that loneliness? Was there a light that surprised you? With a nod, Eliza let out a breath, as if releasing a burden. Yes, my dear. I found springs of joy in the unlikeliest of places. The tiniest moments of grace opened my heart. A child's laughter, the touch of a hand on my shoulder, even the wind whispering to me, they were God's reminders that I was never truly alone. A moment of silence passed, sacred and profound. Each person sat in contemplative stillness, absorbing her words. Sarah's soul danced with a mixture of joy and sorrow. She could almost hear the pages of her own life turning, revealing moments where she had met loneliness, yet somehow emerged stronger each time. Then Jacob spoke, his voice breaking the stillness. But what happens when we just can't find that light? What if God feels distant? The group held their breath, concern weaving through the air. It was a question wrapped in the pain of uncertainty, resonating with many in their beloved congregation. Eliza met Jacob's gaze with a depth of understanding. Ah, Jacob, even in the darkest nights, the stars are still alive. It is easy to forget they are there when the shadows grow long. We may not see his hand, but it's there, lovingly cradling us. Sometimes, it takes the most excruciating moments to awaken our hearts to his presence. Sarah felt a surge of recognition. It was this very sentiment that had carried her through her own struggles, the understanding that even in silence, God was working for her good. Just then, a flicker of light from the stained glass caught her attention. It danced on the floor, weaving patterns of color, vibrant and alive, just like the stories being shared. It felt like a divine invitation, a promise of what was still to come. Perhaps our stories intertwine for a reason, Sarah added softly. Maybe, just maybe, divine loneliness is a call to pull together. Before she could finish, the chapel door creaked unexpectedly. All eyes turned to the entryway, an air of anticipation filling the room. A figure stood silhouetted against the light. Hesitant, yet somehow familiar, what story would this newcomer bring into their sacred gathering? The figure at the door stepped cautiously into the chapel, and the light spilled forward, revealing a face that seemed weathered yet hopeful. As the door closed with a soft thud behind them, a hushed whisper swept through the room. It was a woman, tall and slender, her hands clasped tightly against her chest. The room felt heavy with the weight of her presence, blending curiosity and empathy. Sarah watched as Eliza's expression shifted. Iris knew this newcomer. Rachel, Eliza breathed, an exclamation tinged with surprise and warmth. "Oh, how long it's been!" Tears pooled in Rachel's eyes, a sparkling mirror of the myriad emotions swirling around her. "I had to come," she said at last, her voice low but firm. "I was called back here. I needed to tell you all my story." The air felt electric as Rachel moved closer. She was not merely a visitor. She felt like a piece returning to a larger puzzle. It was as if her journey paralleled their own, a thread that would weave deeper understanding into their gathering. "What brought you back after all this time?" Judith asked, her voice barely above a whisper, yet carrying a hint of urgency. Rachel paused, collecting the scattered bits of her own experiences before speaking. "I was lost in despair for so long," she began, the tremor in her voice revealing her struggle. "Each day felt heavier than the last. I longed for connection, and yet every attempt to reach out left me more isolated. I thought I had failed." A soft murmur of empathy passed through the group, filling the sacred space with shared grief. Sarah leaned in, sensing the battle Rachel had fought silently. But in that darkness, she continued, "I met a stranger, a man who opened his heart in a way that felt like a reaffirmation of my soul. He told me of the beauty concealed within loneliness, the precious lessons waiting just beyond the pain. He said that perhaps our greatest loneliness calls forth our deepest strength." Eliza's eyes shone with understanding, her heart resonating with the familiar struggle Rachel described. "And what did you find in that strength?" With a newfound fire in her eyes, Rachel replied, "I learned that true connection begins with embracing our solitude. Then, the light that might seem elusive can burst forth, bringing people together. It anchors us in faith and opens doors to others struggling in silence." The room hung on her words as realization dawned. Rachel's testimony was more than just her journey. It was a revelation about the group's collective experiences. Sarah felt her own heart swell with warmth, connecting the dots of shared pain and divine purpose. "What if our loneliness is divine craftsmanship?" Rachel proposed, glancing around the room, her gaze mixing hope and conviction. "What if it's a signal to ignite our compassion? We can become beacons for each other." Tears flowed freely now, as some in the group nodded with acceptance and affirmation of the truth Rachel spoke. It was more than a story. It was a call to stand in faith, to lean into one another. In that moment, Jacob spoke up again, a light breaking through the heaviness of his earlier questions. "But how do we find each other when we often feel so lost?" The weight of his words was profound, stirring a longing for resolution within the hearts gathered there. Imploring, Rachel smiled softly and replied, "Begin with honesty. Share your shadows. When we dare to reveal our struggles, we offer a key to those who have been waiting to step into the light with us." As their eyes met, a warmth enveloped the room, wrapping each soul in a shared understanding. Sarah could feel hope swelling, like the dawn breaking through a long night. But as Rachel prepared to continue, the dim flickers of the candles swayed, and a gentle, almost imperceptible breeze swept through the chapel, a whisper of something yet to come, a reminder that divine plans often unfurl in the most unexpected ways. "Let us hold on to this promise," Rachel said, her voice now rising above the murmurs. "When we gather our stories, we create a tapestry of hope woven tighter together." Just then, a faint vibration thrummed through the air. A chill tumbled down Sarah's spine. There was something in the air, the promise of an awakening, a mysterious change lingering just at the edge of their awareness. As they leaned forward in anticipation, the question lingered heavy and sweet. What awaited them beyond this moment? Just waiting to be revealed? The energy crackled in the chapel, an unspoken connection binding every soul present. As Rachel's voice faded into the silence, the atmosphere thickened, pregnant with expectation. Suddenly, the sound of a distant bell tolled, filling the sacred space with a resonant echo that seemed to awaken the very walls. Sarah felt a thrill run through her as she glanced at her fellow villagers, each face illuminated with curiosity and wonder. Each heartbeat seemed to synchronize, whispering promises of transformation. Could this be the moment? Sarah thought, feeling the divine nudge once again. Let the questions flow. She spoke softly, inviting courage in the vulnerability that now colored the air. What if today we open not just our hearts, but also the floodgates to our deepest fears and hidden hopes? Around her, an electric murmur stirred, a ripple of agreement. People began to shift, to breathe deeply, preparing to reveal the sacred truths dwelling within. Miriam raised her hand, her voice gentle yet firm. Loneliness had wrapped me in a cocoon for too long. I felt abandoned, yet those very moments fashioned a deeper understanding of love. The sincerity in her eyes ignited something within those gathered, prompting memories of shared pain. "Me too," shouted a young man from the back, Thomas, who had often lingered in shadows. There were nights when it felt as if I was screaming in silence. I never thought anyone could hear me. Then came a wave of confessions. One after another, fear and hope poured into the space. Judith spoke of her struggle with being visible, how loneliness had once shackled her. Jacob echoed the same sentiment, sharing the darkness that often clouded his mind. Eliza, with tears glistening, spoke of losing parts of herself, but finding trust in the community that enveloped her tonight. What began as whispered burdens morphed into music, a harmony of hearts, a symphony of healing. In that moment, Sarah felt herself becoming a thread in a vast tapestry woven by divine hands, binding stories of despair and grace. With each shared word, the lonely shadows began to lift, replaced by light and camaraderie. Rachel stood and embraced the unfolding realm of connection. Were we without one another? Our lives interlace, a choice to embody love, to choose joy despite the echoes of loneliness. As the words settled like a sweet balm, a soft breeze swept through the chapel, ruffling hair and weaving through the hearts of every believer. It carried with it a sense of divine affirmation, the warm compulsion of a love that is deeper than loneliness, richer than loss. And then, something miraculous happened. Each soul began to share not just their loneliness, but their triumphs, the moments that shone brightly against the canvas of struggle. Laughter broke through as Sarah reminisced about her adventure with Annie. Memories sparked a lightness in the crowd. Joy tangled with the tears, revealing a portrait of hope that danced in the hearts present. "Let's build a bridge, then," cried Judith fervently. A bridge made of shared experiences so that no one walks alone, ever again. Nods and smiles followed, solidarity stitching itself between them. The energy swelled, enveloping the room in a mosaic of awe, heartbeats syncing in unison. It was then that Sarah sensed the culmination of their stories, a cosmic intersection of all paths converging here. Now, today is not just a celebration, it's a covenant. Her heart wasn't just listening, it was singing. A prayer of gratitude escaped her lips, resonating through the chapel. "Lord, thank you for this breathless revelation. May our loneliness transform into love, an embrace to support each other and guide us through storms." Outside, a gentle snow began to fall, draping the world in a silvery stillness. Within the chapel, there was movement, a soft flourishing of hands grasping one another, hearts intertwining. And then the final moment arrived, when the light grew so bright it nearly blinded them. A figure appeared, luminous and strong, silhouetted in the doorway, an unmistakable symbol of Divine love. Sarah's heart raced. It was the spirit that had visited her in the quiet of her prayers. Now standing before them, radiant, it cast a glowing presence of peace over all. "Fear not," it said, voice firm yet tender. "You have opened a portal to love and healing. Every life you touch shows the glory of God, and every moment of loneliness you overcome illuminates the path for others." With each word, a collective sigh of relief filled the room like thunderous applause in the spirit realm. As the ethereal figure of light moved through the crowd, it brought warmth, wrapping every heart in genuine love. "You are not alone," it proclaimed, echoing through the sacred space. "You are chosen to ripple hope throughout this village and beyond. Embrace your purpose." In that sacred juncture, clarity washed over Sarah like the purest water. She understood now this divine loneliness had carved space for profound connections, uniting them not just in faith, but in the celebration of life as fragile beauty. As the Spirit whispers love to us, let our hearts beat together as one, Rachel called out, arms open to the crowd. From that moment, the chapel became a sanctuary, a refuge, where loneliness transformed into strength, where love kindled afresh, creating lasting bonds. Together, they would take those lessons into the world, scattering seeds of hope wherever loneliness found roots. As the gathering reached its zenith, the final question hung in the air, a pledge to one another. Will we embrace our calling? With a resounding clarity, voices rose like a chorus. "We will." Sarah smiled, tears glistening like jewels. She felt a grace filling her being, a deep, unshakable peace settled in. Her purpose radiated anew, a vibrant fire kindled within. And united, hearts aflame with faith and love, they stepped into the night, carrying the light that had ignited in their souls. Together, they would lead each other out of the darkness of loneliness and into a community alive with the transformative magic of God's light. Now, be part of this extraordinary journey. Subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support is crucial. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this powerful ending. Let your voice be heard. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. You need to show your support for our mission as true servants of God. Don't wait even one more second.